All right, welcome to another episode of It's a Wonderful Life. I'm John Devereaux, and this is my wife.
Brittany Devereaux.
And today we're going to be talking about the history of JJ, our son. So we're going to be talking about our NICU stay, everything that led up to him being born in the NICU, and then some of the things that happened while we were in the NICU. So I'll kind of turn it over to you.
Everything pretty much started at my 6 month checkup. I went in to do my glucose test and everything. Everything was fine when we left. We left and went home for a little bit, was getting ready for work, got a call that we needed to come back in. So we went back in. My blood pressure that day was fine that morning. And went back in. They said my blood pressure was sky high. Got kept overnight, kept for that day at first, and they decided to do an overnight thing for like a 24-hour surveillance to kind of see, things were changing, and they really didn't know why. And they also recognized a growth lag in JJ's size, so he was measuring like 2 to 3 weeks smaller than what he should be measuring. So that was a red flag as well. And so after we got kept overnight, they found a lot of protein in my urine, things like that. Red flags for the doctors. So he said, he said he wasn't sure if I'd have to deliver early or anything. He said, but so that we were more equipped, he wanted us to go to Peoria. So I got ambulance that night to Peoria Hospital.
So stop right there. Because, Brittany doesn't know. So what I'm going to do is I have pictures from our whole trip.
Oh,
And
gosh.
to kind of show, I guess, the people who are watching this, because these are things that we haven't shared with anybody on Facebook, and I'm not even sure if Brittany's even seen all of these pictures.
Oh my gosh.
So, but
Looking cute today.
as we
I'm
get
probably
ready,
looking rough in these photos.
as we get ready to, I guess, embark on this journey, let's just jump right into it. So this is us. It says 6 days before JJ was born. So this is January 13th, and
That's in Macomb, right?
yep. So we're at the Macomb Hospital. That's when you got admitted there. So they decided to keep you. Was it over? This is later on that night, I'm assuming. Like,
Well, because we only stayed over one night, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so that was that night. So, things still, we knew things were something was up, but we couldn't have imagined.
Exactly. So right now, I mean, we just just a formality. So, because I got my, as you can see in the picture, I got my keyboard there, and I'm practicing some songs. Because I remember we had like a concert for the church with Mark. So
Okay.
I remember I was like, okay, well, let me just get some practice in. So this was the first night, and then, as Brittany was saying,
Oh my gosh.
this is when they decided to ambulance her over to Peoria.
Yeah, so it got, they said, 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
That's what that was. It went from, okay, things are, we're not sure, and things got pretty serious pretty fast to where they
Yeah.
wanted to ambulance me. So they're getting me prepped and getting me ready to ambulance me to Peoria. So this is what's happening at MDH.
So I remember it was Dr. Ekman, correct?
Yeah.
Who came in and was like, hey, yeah, it's go time. We're not equipped to
Yeah.
handle the situation here, so we're going to transport you over to Peoria.
And I bawled like a baby.
Yeah.
I never cried. I cried hard. He had to keep telling me to calm down because I was crying so hard, and I had like tightening in my chest and everything. I didn't know what was going on.
So I remember while I'm driving, I believe I'm texting and I'm calling everybody to let them know like what's going on. It's an hour and a half drive from Macomb where we were at to Peoria where we were going. So I just remember like still not knowing like fully what's happening. You're not in the moment yet.
Yeah.
It seems like everything's just so surreal. So did your parents? They came down the day of?
Or either the next day.
Because
I'm not
the pictures,
sure.
we got there about 11 something that
It was
night.
pretty late, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe this was the next day then.
Next day probably.
Yeah.
So I guess what did it mean for you to kind of have your parents there? Because I think
Oh, my parents are a rock.
yeah.
They're always there for whatever, whenever, dropping what they got going on, for their daughter. So yeah, words can express.
And throughout the rest of this, they'll see plenty of, I guess, other pictures of your parents. And we're gonna have a competition to see who's gonna break down and cry first.
That's
Because
not fair because you're not even that emotional.
when it comes to JJ, I think I am, and I'm a little bit more prepared because I know all the pictures that are
Yeah, I don't
coming
know.
up.
I don't know what's gonna pop up
But
on the screen. This is so
that
not fair.
but that also I have to mentally prep myself as I get to some of these other pictures. So this is the day before JJ was born. So what was it like, I guess, leading up to his birth? Just being in the hospital, and I remember we were going for ultrasounds every single morning. They would take
Yeah.
us down,
So I
and
had to have this thing around my waist that monitored JJ to make sure heart beating and everything was fine. In that last photo, I don't know if you guys noticed, I had a lot of pillows around me. So with I think they had pretty much diagnosed me with preeclampsia. I think at this point, I'm assuming. So I was on certain medicine, so I believe, and it can cause seizures, or preeclampsia itself can cause seizures, one or the other. And so I had those pillows around me, and thank the Lord nothing ever happened. But that was just in case something was to happen that didn't hit my head or whatever. But yeah, it was just the waiting game. We really didn't know. Yeah, they came in and kind of told you, and at this point we were playing the waiting game.
yep,
So I mean, I was only um,
it had been 25 weeks at this point.
yeah 25 weeks at this point, and I mean, you guys know 30 to 40 weeks I believe is considered full term. So I had a while to go. So they were we gonna wait it out to see however long we can keep him in.
So I remember it got to the point where the doctor was like, we're going to keep monitoring him until we find out that it's better for him to be out than in. So like Brittany said, we were really just playing that waiting game. And like I said, the thing I remember most from this time was just going down every single morning. And like the positive in that was like you could keep seeing him because we got like
Yeah.
an ultrasound every single
Yeah.
day, and they would print out the pictures. And I remember taking it back up to the room.
I didn't think about that stuff.
All right, so January 19th, 2016, the day JJ was born. So there's I mean, looking back now, we can kind of laugh at some of the stuff that happened that day. But in the moment, it was a pretty messed up day for the Devereaux
Yeah,
household.
all three of us was out for the count.
So I guess
Make sure you tell it right. Tell it right.
so the day before, well, I guess when we were up there, I was fasting during the day, and so I would not eat during the day, and then I'd eat at night, and I believe this was probably 2 days before JJ was born. I had like a steak burger. The
It
hospital
was
had,
2 days.
well, the hospital had great steak burgers.
Ew.
Well, it was, anyways. So they had
Some
really good
man
steak
for ya.
burgers. So I remember eating it. So this would have been 2 days before for dinner, and then they didn't really have refrigerators. So I remember I just left it out. So
I
I
was
did.
sitting by the windowsill, baking in the hot sun. I thought it was a day, so I'm guessing maybe it's 2 days now.
Well, it was from the day before, and then I ate
Oh,
it the day
okay.
before JJ was born. So
Oh
that would have
my
been on the 18th.
gosh.
So on the morning of January 19th, I remember being sick.
No, I tell you, I woke up. I was laying in the bed. It was early. We still didn't think anything was gonna happen. We didn't know he was gonna be born that day. Um, John is, he gets up. He's in the bathroom. I hear him. I'm not supposed to get up because of, whatever. I'm on like bed rest. So John's in the bathroom, and I hear the bathroom door like swing open, and John just like is like stumbling out and like falls on the floor. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I'm like hitting my thing, like calling the nurse because I can't get up. I'm like, I don't. And then he's like crawling to the toilet and he's just throwing up, throwing up, throwing up, throwing up. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to lose it. Like, you need to hurry up
Yeah.
and get
So
in
so
here.
to make a long story short, I got food poisoning.
Oh my
So
god.
yeah, I was completely out of it that day, that morning. And then I think it was like an hour or so later, the doctor comes in and was like, "Hey, it's go time. It's time to
He
deliver."
said today's the day. He said the heart rate was kind of dropping, and then he said at this point I think he'd be better out than in. And I remember him asking me, do you have any questions or anything you want to say? And I was like, no, like don't take them. I knew I didn't know necessarily how early or viability and things like that. But I mean I knew this was too early for a baby to be born.
So immediately after he came in and said that, so I'm on my phone once again texting
I think my
everybody.
parents had left
They left the night
the
before.
night before to
The
go
night
back
before.
home. They stayed for a day or two. Okay, everything's looking okay, so we're gonna go on back home. They went back the night before
Yeah.
and then had to call them that morning.
So I remember getting on the phone, and this was, I'm trying to remember what time it was, but
I think it was so dark.
it was still pretty early because I knew people weren't at work yet, so it was probably before 8 o'clock. So I
Oh yeah,
remember
definitely.
making a phone call. I think I called your parents first to let them know, and then I remember calling my mom and my sister, and
I think
let them know what was going on.
my mom called my cousin, which is JJ's godmom, and her husband, so his godmom and dad. Yeah, it was playing telephone, and everybody, we kind of heard their stories later on.
Like how my sister got to Peoria in under an hour from Chicago. But so I remember, and we got the picture up of when JJ got delivered. And I remember the lady, and then I'm still sick at this point. I don't even know why they let me in the delivery room.
Because you probably tried to cover it up.
So I'm in there. They had me scrub up and everything. And then I remember the nurse in there was like, take pictures. And I didn't even know that you can do that in the delivery room. So I'm taking pictures, and they asked me if I wanted to peek over and see them taking the baby out. I was like, nah, y'all can keep that. So when JJ got delivered, I remember do I have the picture? Nope. So, well, I'll put the picture up, but I got the picture of him and the little plastic bags that they wrapped him in. So he was born at 1 pound, 1 ounce.
Not even an ounce. Yeah, he's a micro preemie.
Yeah, micro preemie. So
he was, even though he was 20, that day made us 26 weeks.
Exactly.
He was measuring at like a 23 weeker. So even though he was further along, which I think kind of helped us in the long run too, he was, measuring smaller.
So after they delivered JJ and they took him down to the NICU. And Brittany, you couldn't go down there because
I was on some strong pain meds. I forgot what it was called, but it was like that stuff gave you like the worst feeling too. And I wasn't allowed to go down while I was on it, but I had to stay on it because of the preeclampsia to prevent from seizures, I think it was.
And I still had food poisoning, still the same day. So I remember having to go down to the NICU and sign up everybody so that they can go and see JJ.
So our family took over.
Yeah.
They had to, because I was out of commission, John was out of commission, and we had to just start. My mom jumped in, John's sister jumped in, Dominique. And they just had to start, appointing people. All right, you gonna do this. You be here, sign in. Whoever comes in, John's mom, whoever, everybody just had to. That's family for you. We blessed.
It really
We're
is.
blessed. I don't know how we would have done it.
They really stepped up for us. Like I said, Brittany's parents came and was in the room with you while I was downstairs getting people signed in because I believe, my mom and my sister came down. And
people started showing
my
up.
friends, so they drove down. And they thought I got sick in the delivery room. And I guess months later they found out that I actually, had that food poisoning. So, it was just a crazy day. And I remember even going back up to your room. And, well, at first I threw up in the NICU. So they had to come get me.
My mom told me they were trying to escort him out. These are sick babies. And this man is in here where he can't even stand up. I think they said they got him a wheelchair at this point too. So he can't even stand up. He's throwing up or whatever. And at this point, they're like, sir, you got to go. So they was like, you got to get out of here. And he didn't want to leave, of course. But, my mom said, for his sister, just take him. And they got him, I think, a hotel room.
No, I came back up to the floor where you were at.
Oh, okay.
And then I remember my sister was like, tell Brittany you about to leave. Because I was still so out of it.
I think I remember that.
And, because I came and saw you, told you I was getting ready to head out, and my sister got me out of there. But I think I even threw up on that floor, too, where you were at.
God.
So it was just a bad day.
It really was.
But luckily, like I said, our family was able to kind of step in.
They took over.
And, your parents, especially like your mom, she got in there and was kind of directing traffic for the most part with people going back to see JJ.
Because everybody you had to have badges. You had to be on a list. Anybody just can't, be walking in or coming down there. So they had to, work accordingly.
So I guess briefly, what were some of the post-birth difficulties? So, because you didn't get to go, we both didn't get to go down to see JJ until
we didn't see him for 4 days. So John, I think, was able to go down before, but I think you had said you didn't want to go down without me. So it was 4 days my baby is born, and I cannot see him. And I remember I felt like a detachment from him, like I didn't know him or I didn't really feel anything. It was really weird. Like I wasn't like crying like, can I go see my baby today? Or whatever. I just really couldn't explain it. So after I had JJ, that the preeclampsia, I got what's called the HELP syndrome. It's very rare, is what I was told, and it makes your blood count, whatever the normal blood count is, it's down to like I think it's like triple digits or something. You're going down to like single and double digits.
Right. So because of the meds you were on, that's why you weren't able to go down there.
Right.
And of course, I didn't want to go down there without you. So I wanted our first time together. Well, our first time seeing him being us together. So on January 22nd, I believe it's a Friday, or like you said, 4 days later, when we were actually able to go down and see JJ for the first time.
That's 3 days.
Well, I
We
count
count the day of birth.
yeah,
Okay.
day of. So I mean, it's yeah, because this was later on that evening. So I remember getting back from Macomb, and we were able to go down and see him. So um, in the interim, I guess we were able to kind of FaceTime with him because your mom would go down there
Oh yeah.
and she would have FaceTime with us so we can kind of see him, and we would see like his daily goals. And he had an amazing nurse with him. So and we're still friends with the nurse to this
Linda.
day.
Is that Linda?
Yeah, she's amazing. So she took really good care of him those first couple of days. So what was it like, I guess, for you that first time going down there?
So many emotions. So if you can see the two, the circles on the side of the bed, those are for you to, they open and close for you to put your hands in, for the nurses to do things, and then for obviously the parents. So when I got down there, that's what I can kind of tell, like the way I'm looking right there. I remember I just kept staring at him. I didn't really know what to think. I didn't really say anything. My mom was standing like right over there off to the side, and she's like, "You want to touch him?" And I remember shaking my head, and I was like, no." And so she was like, "You sure?" So I just sat there looking at him. Like I said, didn't know what to think. I felt that detachment, to where I don't know. I didn't my first child, so I don't know. But I'm assuming when you have one, it's an overwhelming of joy, and I just felt really detached from him, from maybe not seeing him right away or whatever the case. I don't know. Don't really know. But obviously, women know after you have a baby, you begin to lactate, and for the baby, and that wasn't happening at this time. So when I went down there, I did not want to touch him, because like I said, he was so tiny, and I don't know, I just felt uncomfortable. And I sat there for a while, and I looked at him and stared at him, and then I finally mustered up the courage to open up the little windows there and stick my hand in. And I think we had a photo of that too, where I held his finger, and you can tell he's squeezing it because his fingertips are changing colors. Just like when you try to press something, your fingertips change colors. So he was squeezing it, and his fingers were changing colors. So when I did that, it was like something like magical. It was like a light switch instantly turned on, to where I felt something. And I remember I cried a little bit, and mom was standing there, and she's like, "Yeah." And so out of nowhere, and they say this, from the baby, and that might be because I was away from my baby and I didn't get to touch him or anything. Maybe that's why that was happening. Like as soon as I touched him, it's crazy how God created a human body. As soon as I touched him, I began lactating, and I felt it immediately. I was freaking amazed that happened. It wasn't like a couple minutes later. It was like immediate. That was a magical moment for me, because it was the first time I felt something for him. It was just all like I was just missing that connection, that touch from him, and maybe him the same way. So that's something that I will never forget.
I forgot how long we were actually in the hospital, but eventually we got discharged, and our new normal began, as I like to call it, because I had to go back to work, and you decided to. I mean,
I think I went back with you the first night.
oh yeah,
The first night I had a choice. He said, "Do you want to stay or you want to go home?" Hardest choice I ever had to make.
so when I remember us going back home that night, and I can't remember if it was because I had class or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
And then the next day, I mean, we had to have that tough conversation, because for me personally, I know that I never wanted JJ to be alone up there, and I think it was a general, agreement for both of us. But we knew that that meant that Brittany would have to go up there and be with them. I can't remember. So did we go back the very next day? Did we?
It might have been a day or two, because I remember when we got back, it was at nighttime. The next day I was home. I want to say I don't know if we stayed over. We stayed at home again because I remember
I
calling the
doubt it.
hospital. I remember calling the hospital and checking on them often, and I felt guilty for leaving them, but I didn't want to be alone either. So
So I know that that was tough. And this point in time, like for us, um, it was also the semester where I was teaching the most courses I think I've ever had. So I was teaching 8 courses, and a couple of those were new preps. So that led to a very, very busy work schedule for me. And we got JJ right here in the middle of all of this. And Brittany's getting ready to adjust to being up there in the NICU with them. So the way that it happened was I would be in Macomb from Monday through Friday. After my last class on Friday, I remember I would always drive up, immediately from campus and go straight up to Peoria. Would spend Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday up there with you guys, and then drive back on Sunday night for my class. Need a break?
well, I lost. Go figures.
The way that our new schedule would be is I would be in Macomb teaching from Monday through Friday, and after my last class on Friday, I would already have my bags packed for the weekend, and I would drive straight up there to Peoria, spend Friday night, all day Saturday and Sunday up there, and then drive back Sunday night. So that was our normal. But how did
For
you adjust to, or I mean, did you ever adjust to being in the NICU?
for whatever reason, this part is like the hardest to always talk about. I think it's because the feeling I felt was real, and whenever we talk about it or revert to photos about it, like I can go to that place, I can feel it, and I'm a type of person. I'm not saying I can't ever be alone. I like my alone time, just like anybody, but I prefer company of others. I don't, I like to do things in the company of other people. And then obviously for something like this, nobody would want to be by themselves. Um, you're in a hospital, you don't know people. Um, I was literally living there. So sleeping in his room on a fold out like cot thing they had in there. They had like showers and stuff. I'm showering there. I'm eating breakfast there. I'm eating lunch there. I'm eating dinner. And I wish I would have been strong enough to document everything that was going on. I started a journal.
Hmm.
That didn't go too, it didn't go too long to where, because you're frustrated, you're upset, you praying and asking God, why are you going through this? Days is turning into weeks, turning into months. And, you just like, when are we going to be done with this? So obviously I had quit my job to stay. So I wasn't going back. And, um, I would just say the real feeling, and it's not being mad at him. I was a little jealous. I felt like him being at work, he could take his mind off of it and think about something else. While I was like, in it, hearing the beep every time something's going off, I'm, you know, looking to see what it is, or, and even though I'm in this room with him, I'm so far away from him when I'm not sitting right at the incubator. So, I just wanted to hold him. Yeah, we couldn't hold him for,
Yeah, we'll get to
okay.
that.
Um, couldn't hold them or anything. So it was just that sense of, I guess, loneliness. And, everybody, my parents and everybody, they had been up there multiple times. And I mean, people got lives to live, they got jobs to go
Hmm.
to. People can't just sit in here and accompany me. Like, I get it. But the feelings were real. And like I said, I wish I would have been strong enough to document, do some video documenting each day. I really, really wish I would have. I would encourage anybody in a situation like that to
Yeah.
do that because later on you would want that. And I kind of got into the motions. I wasn't going outside. I didn't have a car because John had the vehicle. So days were like literally running together. It was, sun come up, sun go down. It was like clockwork.
And I guess for me, it was, I mean, I did have that distraction of work. Like I said, I was teaching a lot of classes that semester, so I was extremely busy. So that was, I guess, a constant distraction, but then I still wanted to be up there because I'm a more hands-on person, so I wanted to be up there when the doctors were coming in every single morning, asking questions and things like that. So, and then also to be up there with you, I know the type of person that you are. So I know I didn't want you to be up there by yourself. So I knew that was a huge sacrifice for you. So for me, when I would come up there on the weekends, for me, like, looking back over the process, I felt like when I would come up there, I was coming up there for you more so than for JJ because I knew that you needed a break from all of that. So I remember we would try to do things. So we would try to go places or do something small, just to kind of get your mind off of that because I know like once Monday morning hits and you're in there all by yourself, then it's back to that grind until Friday when you can get some type of distraction. So it was just tough all around. I think February 1st. I don't remember what happened that day, but I remember it was
I do.
okay. So what happened?
I remember one of the doctors coming in, or my parents were there. Nurse Linda was there, and they came in and said JJ had to have surgery.
Okay, yep.
It was how little he is, and you think like, how can you do anything on something this tiny? Um, and they said they had to do surgery on him or whatever. And I remember just sitting there. I was just out of it or whatever. And I think I broke down, of course. And I remember Linda trying to defuse the situation. She said, "Hey, you want to hold JJ today?" And I was like,
Because up to this point, you still hadn't been able to hold
yeah.
him.
So this is February 1st. He was born the 19th. So still wasn't able to hold him. And then my mom was sitting there and she was like, yeah, you should hold him. And so I was like, okay. And so that was the first time we were able to hold him.
You
So
were able to hold
I
him.
was, oh, you didn't hold him?
Nope.
Oh, because we only could do one person at that
Only
time?
one person can.
At this time,
kangaroo is what they
yes,
called it.
at this time, only one person because it'd be too much stress on him, I guess. So, they have to do skin to skin. So like you see people on Facebook or whatever, men or whoever have to have their shirt off or something. So they have to be on your chest. That skin to skin contact. There's a lot of studies and stuff for that helps with development with the babies too. Mm-hmm. And I remember every time, whenever he would lay down, he always trying to pick up his little head. You remember doing that?
Yeah.
He'd always try to, so he's laying on you, face this way, turn to the side, and he would always try to pick up his little head, like he trying to like look at you.
And he has so many things connected to
Oh
him.
my gosh! Did you guys see the thing on his mouth now? That was a thing where they would push a tube through, it'd go down his throat, and it would pull all the gunk and stuff out of there. So they had to do that on multiple times a day. And then he had other stuff, obviously right here you can't even see. Yeah, it was just so much. You just would lay there and just don't want to move. Just let him lay there.
That's pretty much all you could do.
Yeah, don't want to do anything because you don't want to disconnect anything.
Right. So yeah, so that was when they announced that he would have to have surgery, and he had his first surgery on February the 3rd. I think didn't it go like really quick? It wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think it was. Of course, we were nervous, but for the surgery, they block off the whole wing. So that's what the photo that John got. That they blocked off the wing for his surgery.
Mm-hmm. And then on February 12th.
He looks a lot bigger right there. Maybe just laying on you.
It's time.
It ain't been that long.
I mean, this is 11 days after you got to hold him for the first time because you held him the first time that weekend because I remember I was up there. And then the next weekend when I came up there, you held him again. So just because I think I still thought you still needed that extra time with them. So on the 12th is when I finally got to hold him. And I remember on the drive up to Peoria that day, and I was like, yeah, I'm talking to myself the whole time, like, yeah, I'm gonna hold him today. So you're not gonna hog him. So I was excited to finally be able to hold him for the first time, and I think like at the beginning, I was extremely like nervous, and I didn't want to do anything. By this time, you we're up there changing
I was
diapers
pro.
inside the incubator and doing this, that, and the other. So since I wasn't up there a lot, I didn't get any of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I still was a little uneasy, like this little small guy who can fit in my hand.
Little
Thought
peanut
I'd
head.
break him. This
These
picture
guys.
that I have up here from the 20th, and that's my friends. They all came down. I remember it was a Saturday, so they all drove down. They were there when JJ was first born. But yeah, so Demetrius, Portis, and Quinn, they all came down. And the reason why I put this picture, we had a lot of visitors. A lot of it was family members. So like our parents were there. Well, your parents, my mom came down. My sisters were there, and like my guys came down that first day. But this time, it was kind of special to me because this was like one of the first times when we actually got out. And I remember we all went out to eat to
Did we?
the Pizza Ranch. Yeah, we all went out to eat at Pizza Ranch
I remember
and
that.
just cracking jokes. And the reason why I put this picture up here is because I mean it's just so important for the connections. I mean, for just to have people that help take your mind off of the situation. And I know that's something I was always able to count on my guys to do. So, they came down, we were joking, laughing, and it really just helped to provide some type of.
We forget what's going on for the time being till we put back up in that hospital parking lot.
Right, but sometimes, I mean, even just that small distraction
Yeah,
is what
it
you need to
helps.
kind of get through
Yeah.
like the next couple of days.
It helps.
So
A lot.
I was just always grateful for our friends who were able to come down and our family members. Now, that's just a cute picture of JJ. I like that. Now I'm taking all these pictures. So like Brittany said, like she didn't want to journal throughout it, but I knew
I wish I would have blogged. I wish I would have did video footage.
in the moment I wanted to take as many pictures as possible because even though it was tough in that moment, I knew that I wanted to be able to have something to look back on. Now we don't look at these pictures a lot just because they are traumatizing. Because it does put you back in that space that you were in while you were in the NICU, and they'll tell you like when you're in the NICU, what they say is like one step forward, like two steps backwards.
4 steps
And
backwards. It really is.
It really is. So
It really is.
it's a tough time to kind of look back on, but JJ started to grow a little bit more. He was coming down because he still had his oxygen, so he was starting to come down a little bit on his oxygen. So we were making progress,
Your
but it
little
was like
fingers.
it took days and weeks.
Was that his first outfit?
Yes. So
Something that we didn't even buy, I don't think. I think that was something
No.
from them.
I think, well, this might not be his first outfit, but this is the
Okay.
first outfit that he was in while I was up there.
Okay.
Because I remember, I believe you texted me one day while I was at work, and you took a picture of him, and they had put him in an outfit,
Yeah.
and you sent it to me, and I was like, man, them clothes look huge, and those are preemie clothes that he has
Yes,
on.
and it was still too big. And these are, so if, some of these things, as far as when you get to hold them, when they get to wear clothes. So like these are milestones. So they can't wear clothes because they have to be able to
Regulate their temperature.
yes, their self. And then when they get, the bed is they call them the draft beds. They're all set to a certain temperature and they adjust them to however the baby is. So when he's able to maintain his own temperature and things like that, then they can put on clothes on him and things like that. So all these are like little milestones.
So, March 12th, we had our baby shower. JJ is almost 2 months old.
Yeah, I think we had already set everything, right? I think
Yeah.
it was already like the date and everything was already set. And I was supposed to still been pregnant because
Right.
JJ was not supposed to be born until April.
Yeah.
I believe it was. And he was born in January. So I remember my mom asking, you gonna have a shower? And I'm like, okay. I was like, but I'm like, who has a baby shower with no baby? Like you either have a baby shower when you're pregnant, or some people have it when afterwards and the baby is there so people can see him or whatever. We didn't either. I wasn't pregnant. I ain't had no baby there. So I remember I was kind of upset or whatever. And she was like, get over it, And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
And sometimes that's what you need. You need people in there to tell you just get over it.
Be
and,
feeling it, man.
yeah, kind of push you. But I remember we had a great time, and
We
the
did.
family and friends, they really showed out. Our friends from Macomb drove all the way up to Rockford, and we were able to spend some time with them.
Yes.
And
First
once
time
you-
them seeing all of us since all of this stuff happened.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
A lot of church people that were in Rockford and everybody that knew us. This is pretty much their, besides the immediate family and stuff, people who came down. This is like their first time seeing us
Mm-hmm.
since everything was happening. So, it was tough because everybody's looking at you with that face like, and then you just like don't even start because I'm just a ticking time bomb.
Yeah. So March 18th that I have up here is when we got moved to the new room. So we moved from
316.
316 to this room.
So it's still part of the NICU, but it's not the intensive care part, I believe.
Yeah. So he was able to get into one of those beds that
I think he was still in there.
So he was able to get into one of those beds now.
We had been told, that it's coming up, but he wasn't there yet. Different milestones, criteria he has to meet. And I remember calling you, and I said, they said they're going to put him in the bed today. And then they got the crib and put him in there, and oh my gosh, of course, he looked extra small in there. And the crib is already like tiny, and he looked super small. He looked so cute.
Yeah, but like in these rooms now, he had a little bit more, we had a little bit more, I guess, freedom with him. I guess that's
he's able to get out more. I mean, I can hold him, I think, as long as I want to.
Yeah.
As long as he's doing okay.
He has his little Mama Roo.
Yeah,
which
little
was
Mama
like
Roo.
a godsend for us. I mean, he used to just love sitting in that thing. And I remember when we finally left, we had my cousin Natalie got us a gift card to Target, and that was exactly what we bought with that gift card. That Mama Roo.
So gotta have a Mama Roo. So for moms, get your Mama Roo.
So we went through the whole. We didn't talk about it, but when he started drinking from the bottle, so one of he was starting to gain weight, but we were trying to get him to eat by mouth, and that way he can get the feeding tube out. So that was one of our last challenges that we had.
So most babies, babies are when they're born, they're born like with the sucking motion. So they know how to, latch on or a bottle or whatever the case is automatically. It's just one of those things that's innate when they come out. So with JJ being born so early, he didn't have that skill. So you have to
being fed,
So you have to teach them. So that's what was really tough. And so he was getting milked down. I think we had a picture of like his first bottle he finished.
I got him to finish an entire bottle.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, the little mini bottles. John was. Yeah,
it's probably like 5 mLs. It was nothing.
We was happy though. We had a little thing up on his door, and everybody was excited. But then he started aspirating.
Yeah, silent aspirations.
Yeah. So that's when
they cut that off real quick.
When you're drinking something, it should go down to the it should go to the throat, stomach, and it was going to the lungs. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't swallowing it correctly. So yeah, when a baby aspirates, that can cause other lung issues, and he was already said to have chronic lung because he was born so early. So when that started, they cut him off immediately. Yeah. So we went through that a few times back and forth.
And that's when we had the decision to get the G-tube placed.
Yeah, the G-tube that we still have to this day.
Yeah, working on that. So in this picture here, on May 1st, this is JJ's car seat test. Now, in order for the kid to go home, they got to pass the car seat test. And I forget how long he had to sit in there. Was it just like a...
It was like
an
20,
hour?
I don't think it was a whole hour. I think at least maybe up to a half an hour. Yeah. I'm not sure. But you see we had the makeshift because he couldn't fit in the, they don't make preemie car seats.
No.
So they had to put towels on the side so that he could be, more snug in the car seat. So that was hilarious.
And we had he's connected to all of his stuff, his oxygen.
Yeah. Pulse
ox, measuring his heart rate and his oxygen levels.
Yeah. We went home with that.
All that other stuff that he's connected to, but he passed with flying colors. So
he did really good.
I was happy.
That Binky, they used to be best friends.
So May 6th, after 107 days, he was finally cleared to go home. So, what were your thoughts, I guess, leading up to this day and then on that day?
So I think the day of us leaving, you weren't there. You came. Nope. He came down when it was time to leave. So I remember just being anxious that whole morning, that whole afternoon. I think we left around late afternoon or so.
Because this is still a Friday, so I came up after class.
So he came after class. So just sitting there twiddling our thumbs. I mean, we was all ready to go. Packed up. It was everything. Wasn't nothing else to pack. And I was just ready to get out of there before, they changed their mind.
Yeah. Like, you know what? We need to keep him an extra couple days.
I was like, we got to go. But I think we were so thirsty to get out of there. You didn't think about, we was like, okay, we out. And we got in the car. And I'm like, we have an hour and a half drive to Macomb. I started freaking out a little bit. I'm like,
because he went home with like his oxygen and everything and all the
That
monitors.
machine. Oh my
And
gosh.
I remember, like, you get the training before you can go home. Like, what happens if one of the oxygen
Oh my
tanks
god.
explodes and
Yeah, well, we were on the phone with people in the car because remember the oxygen guy was at our house. He's like, "Oh, I'm en route." We're like, "Well, we're just now leaving." So they had to have a company come out, bring the oxygen
a
tanks in.
whole really huge oxygen tank
Yes,
that was in
and a
this one. I
couple
forgot about that.
backups. Yep, and the backups and stuff. So we had to have that done, and something else had to be done too. So we were like on the phone with people in the car trying to get it all set up so that we can get home. It was a lot.
It was a lot, but I know we were both happy to finally be out of the NICU, and to kind of get him home. And this was like Mother's Day weekend, so that
Oh
also
yeah.
helped as well. So he was able to spend his first Mother's Day with you, back
Yeah.
in Macomb. So, and I mean, this is 107 days. Like, I mean, when you look back on it, like it seems like so long ago, even though it's only been 3 years. So I mean, it was a long journey. I know, other people, may have shorter journeys or even
Even
some longer
longer.
than
Yeah.
ours. And like with the NICU, it's such a tough time, and there's no other way to describe it. And how JJ has this shirt that says NICU graduated. I mean, we should have got shirts that said, NICU
I
graduates.
should have been a registered nurse after I left there because I feel like I should have had a certificate, diploma, something, a
Yeah,
degree, something.
but
We
like
learned a
with
lot. We learned a lot.
yeah, the NICU, I mean, it's just a roller coaster ride, and that's the only way that I can equate it. You got your peaks, you got your valleys, and sometimes those valleys are very, 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 very deep, and it takes a while for you to get back on that upturn. But I mean, we were kind of blessed that we were able to make it through in one piece and get ready to transition. But what advice would you have for I guess any families that are in the NICU?
I would definitely say, like I said in the beginning, document things, videotape, those things. You're going to want those to tell a story later on. We're testimonies, JJ being the biggest testimony. So, some things, John was really good at marking things, dates, and whatever, what was going on. So, thank goodness for that because I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to tell you. But I would say document, video. I would definitely say to, it's hard, but try to look on the bright side of things. And I wish we would have kind of got out, or me being there, got out more and met some of the other people that were
Well,
there.
we didn't even talk about like that we found a church up there too.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
so I mean, we were doing
we started going to a church.
we became
Yeah.
members of the Peoria community. It feels
Oh,
like
yeah, it was a second home.
yeah,
Some of the relationship with some of the nurses we're still friends with. Shout out to Tiffany. She took me out one day. She said, "I just want to take you out," and we went to dinner and a movie, and that was different. I was like, I really needed that, and I will never forget that to this day. And I'm very grateful for that. So other people that we met there, just checking in on you and excited to see you when you're there because you're there every day.
hmm
Um,
I think, and that brings up like a really good point. The nurses, they see the parents who are committed
yes,
and more hands-on with their kids, and I think that I don't want to say causes them to go the extra mile, but I think that helps them to
it shows. Yeah.
go the extra mile and to help do what's best for the kid and advocate a little bit harder.
And I know like some parents aren't because when we were there, in the PICU part or before you go home, um, I knew a lot of kids were there. Babies are crying throughout the night. And I remember I would ask, and some parents just couldn't be there because they could have been like a single parent or had to work. Like we
Or
had,
other kids too.
that was a big thing. People they kept asking us if we had any other kids. That was like one of the number one questions. Do you have other kids? And we were like, no. And they were like, oh, okay, you know what? Well, that's good because of other people who had kids and a family at home. You
Yeah.
can't stay at the hospital 24/7 because you got kids at home that have a routine and that need you. And so, we were very fortunate for me to be able to quit my job and, and still make ends meet.
Right.
But, like I said, that's not everybody's situation. So, very blessed.
Yeah, we were, and um, one of the things that I would always advocate for, for people who are in the NICU, they have resources in the hospital for counseling. I remember the lady would come by every single morning
Oh my gosh.
and
I
ask.
didn't want to talk to her. I was like, no, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk next day. I don't want to talk today either.
Yeah, but that's something that I would advocate for because I mean, when you're going through that stuff, it's kind of hard to keep it all bottled in. So I mean, it's good to be able to talk or have someone that you can talk to, so that you're not keeping it all inside. Whether that's, I mean, your family was always there for you,
But I mean, even
and
even
friends and
people, anybody who knows they when they go through something, other people don't understand,
right.
and you don't expect them. I don't expect anybody to understand our crazy, situation. So I mean, you can't always talk to other people because they don't understand. So somebody who works in that medical field, they're there for that reason because they do understand.
And then even other people that might understand is the people that's also in the NICU as well.
Yes,
We
reach
made
out,
friends
reach out.
like after we left the NICU
Yes.
that we should have been best friends with while we were still
Yes,
there.
and we both said the same thing. She said, I sat in my room whenever they would go up there every day. I think she was there pretty much every day. And she said she did not come out of like the room, and me neither. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner is when you would see me in the hallway and go take a shower. That's about it. So she said the same thing. If I would have just, I think we were like 2 doors down, and she's like, if I just would have come out, and she's like, I remember seeing you, and I was like, me too. And we actually went to a meet and greet type thing.
Our NICU had the family night, so the last Sunday of every month they would have NICU graduates and their parents come in. That was amazing for me because just while you got your kid there who's fighting for their life, but you see other families who have gone through the journey already, and you see their kids just running around, and like, okay, I want to get to that point, and it gives you hope, essentially.
And it was, and even 'cause I remember the first time we went, I was upset. I didn't want. I was in the wheelchair still, and I didn't want to be there. I was upset. But I remember, even if you're not talking, you're sitting there listening just to get out, because some people would come out of their rooms for the first time, and you would kind of see people, and that kind of struck relationships. So yeah, so those are things that we would recommend to people that are in similar situations. You just kind of use your resources at the hospitals. Reach out and get to know people, because those relationships are long lasting.
Because those are people, like you said, who know what you're going through.
Really relatable, yes. You can laugh at the things that ain't so funny when you're
Yeah.
behind closed doors, but when you're with other people who understand, you can get laughter out of that and kind of lean on each other. And we text questions and stuff. Has your kid tried this type of food?
Oh,
or
yeah.
This? So I mean, hey.
So yeah, we definitely made some lifelong friends from our journey at the NICU, and with even the nurses that we still see, and we go back every year for the Miracle Walk that the hospital hosts, and get to see some of the doctors that work with JJ, and yeah, it's good, and I know for us that we just want to be able to give back, so to get more involved. So for parents who have gone through the NICU, I would highly recommend that you get involved with the NICU that you've been through, to just give back to the other families. So,
Definitely.
It's
Who
like
knows better than somebody that's been through it?
Exactly, just like a fraternity. You have common bonds that you have with all these other parents. So that's why I'm a huge advocate for giving back. And like I said, that's the point of this podcast, is to provide some insight and then also answer questions. So if you are a family or a parent that has a kid that's currently in the NICU and you have questions, definitely feel free to reach out to us. We're an open book with our story, and we're willing to give advice or help however we can. So on the next one, we'll be looking at
Part 2.
Part 2, yeah, when we went back to the hospital. So until next time, thank you for checking in with us and watching. If you have questions, once again, feel free to reach out, and we'll make sure to try to address those questions.
Yeah, we just pray the ultimate thing is that it blesses somebody, enlightens somebody, to know something that they didn't know, or whatever the case. So just when you go through things, like I said, testimonies, they're meant to be shared. They're meant to be told. So
I'm about to go hug JJ now. So
yes, I was hoping he was still up. He was in there coughing. I didn't cry too much, and I'm ready to go to bed now. Thank you, guys.
See you next time.